And now it's time for a couple of things that are on my mind, and this is week 103 of me doing this as a full-time occupation. And I want to complain a little bit more about Comcast this week. I'm sorry for being such a broken record on this company, but it's just impeding my ability to grow this business, and it's been driving me crazy. We will say something nice about Comcast, though, at the end of this segment, so don't worry, it's not all bad, but I do want to just bring something to your attention. So where I live, the fastest upstream speed I can get at my house here is about 12 megabits per second. I am on the top tier, and that includes even the business plans. I can't do more than that. Some of you know I was trying to get their Gigabit Pro service installed here, which is a direct fiber connection with 2 gigabits per second symmetrical. I was not eligible for that after they did their on-site survey because they thought I was only 700 feet away from the nearest node to plug into, but as it turns out, I am 38,000 feet away, and it was not going to be a cost-effective installation for either party. So I went, just around town the other day because I was playing around with that VDU Go, and I was wondering how Verizon's service has improved over the years. And I pulled into my Dunkin' Donuts parking lot to get my coffee, and I ran a quick speed test. And to my shock here, I've got 50 megabits per second symmetrical on my smartphone, yet I can't get anywhere near this speed uploading on my hardwired connection. It just drives me crazy that they just can't deliver what I need and I'm willing to pay for. But this is what you deal with when you have these regional monopolies that are not under pressure to provide better service. We're seeing them starting to offer their cable-based or their coax-based gigabit service in areas where we have more competition in the state. But where I live, where Comcast is really the only game in town for this kind of internet connection, they are just kind of dragging their feet. Now, it's really fascinating, though, to look at Comcast's marketing of their internet plans. They never talk about Upstream. They assume that everyone just wants to consume, and that might just be a corporate strategy or philosophy, because for a long time that's all they did was provide content that you watched, and now of course we're in a two-way communication era, but nonetheless this is how they're still offering things to folks. And I think it's actually more about their cost than it is about what consumers are really in need of. Even when you look at the business plans here, again, it is all focused on consumption. When I called the business office to see if there were faster upload speeds in my area, the guy I talked to said, "Oh yeah, it's 300. I said, "Yes, 300 down. Is it 300 up also?" He said, "Yeah, it's 300 in both directions." Then he called me back an hour later and said, "Oh, I made a mistake. It's only 12 up like you have now." And I said, forget it, because they wanted to charge like twice as much for this business plan versus my personal cable account. And the other thing that bothers me about the direction they're taking here is that they are communicating this to policymakers like they're doing something good here to make them not be so concerned about the large regional monopoly that they have. So this press release was one that I got last April when they started rolling out gigabit internet service in Connecticut. This was a year ago, almost a year ago now, and they were talking about how this is going to be all over the state. Guess what? It still isn't where I am, nor in many other parts of the state that are lacking regional competition. And again, all focused on downstream, and again, focused on publications that cover state policy. And I think if lawmakers were getting concerned that we were falling behind on broadband here, they would read this and say, hey, everything is good here. We're in good shape. Comcast is making progress. It's pretty reasonably priced. But they made no mention of Upstream in this, and it wasn't until I contacted the PR rep for clarification that I learned that it was 35 and not even close to even half the downstream speed here. And they are just dragging their feet on this because I think it'll cost them a small fortune to upgrade all their equipment to support some of the symmetrical gigabit speeds that the DOCSIS 3.1 technology can provide. They've got to probably change out cable nodes. They've got to change out amplifiers. And so long as they are not getting consumers excited about uploading, they don't have to worry about having to upgrade that equipment that quickly. And I think that's really what is driving a lot of this here. It's cost. And when they don't have competition, there's no need to be really fast about this, especially if they can keep consumers and policymakers distracted by downstream performance. And I think this is holding us back in many areas. Now, there is some competition in my state. We've talked about Go NetSpeed before. This is a small fiber provider that started operating in the Hartford area in Connecticut, where I live. Unfortunately, this is about 45 miles away from where I am currently stationed, so they will not be able to come to me and offer this service. But look at what they're marketing here versus Comcast. Upload and download. In fact, they're not saying download and upload. They are focusing on the fact that they provide a much faster upload connection for folks, and I think that's really important. And I'm really eager to see what Comcast does in that area in response to the fact that this little scrappy startup is offering a very competitively priced product. In fact, I believe they are guaranteeing this price for life if people sign up. So that's another advantage they've got there. And it looks to be a really good service from the people that I've talked to that have it. And the other day I stopped by my friend's house who does have this service, and just on a Wi-Fi connection, which wasn't so great, I was getting some really decent upload speeds. And I'm going to go back there and we'll hook up some stuff to the Ethernet there and see how it really plays out, just to see what a nice symmetrical fiber connection is like. Because I know a lot of you don't have access to this as I don't, and I'm eager just to play with it. So we'll do a video up there in the next couple of weeks about what it's like to have one of these connections and see where it goes. Incidentally, I did try to get these folks on for an interview, but they didn't want to talk about federal policy related to net neutrality. They didn't really want to talk about state policy. They didn't want to talk about their infrastructure, so it was really hard to actually have anything to talk about. But maybe we'll offer it to them again and see if they'd like to talk about what it's like to be a little internet provider competing against the big guys. I think it's a fascinating story, and it's unfortunate that they didn't really want to talk about any of those things. But nonetheless, we'll poke around here and see what this is all about. Now, I don't want to just complain and dump on Comcast all the time, because they are actually pretty good on Twitter with customer service. And here's my tip for you. If you ever have a problem with your Comcast service, don't bother calling, just tweet. And you can even tweet out into the air. They'll find you and respond. So what I did is I posted up this snarky tweet about the fact that my Dunkin' Donuts parking lot here has a better Upstream connection than my house does. Incidentally, I could probably drive to the Dunkin' Donuts and upload a video and still save time, which I might start doing because I have 20 gigs a month I can use for tethered connections on my Verizon account. Nonetheless, though, they almost immediately wrote back to me saying, hey, thank you for reaching out through Twitter. Would love to look into this internet issue for you. Can you please DM me? So I DM'd them and said, look, this is not a problem with my service, but it's a problem with the offering that you have. And they said, well, we still want to check your account anyhow. So I sent them my information. They ran a test, and sure enough, there's something wrong with my internet connection. I don't know what it is because everything seems to be working fine, but they did notice something. And I've got a tech now coming here in about 2 hours or so to check it out. And that was all yesterday. So they actually do, I think, a pretty nice job of monitoring social media and trying to solve problems for you. And I just wish the company would offer more, and I'm willing to pay for it. I'm even willing to forgive the fact that they're a regional monopoly with no competition if I could just get some better upstream speed to run my business. But nonetheless, they are good at customer service on Twitter of all places, and I think if you have a problem, go there first.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Chris Allegretta, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Anuj Zaveri, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.